The lights on Station Harmony flickered as another blast shook the massive space station. Commander Hyunwoo Park gripped his chair and watched the main screen. Red dots filled the display, showing enemy ships everywhere. Too many to count. "Sir, the outer defense ring is gone," said So-Min Lee from her communication station. Her voice was steady, but Hyunwoo could see her hands shaking. "We lost 12 ships in the last 5 minutes. Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display. The Kethmoran Empire had come with everything they had. Their bioships looked like giant insects made of metal and flesh. They moved in perfect formation, firing energy beams that could cut through the strongest coalition armor like it was paper. "What about the 23rd Fleet?" Hyunwoo asked. Dong-hyun Kim, their tactical specialist, shook his head. "Gone, sir. Admiral Martinez's flagship was destroyed 10 minutes ago. We're getting distress signals from evacuation pods, but the enemy is targeting them too." The station shook again. This time the lights went out for 3 seconds before the emergency power kicked in. Through the windows, Hyunwoo could see coalition ships exploding in bright flashes. Each flash meant hundreds of people were dying. "Medical Bay to bridge," came a voice over the comm. It was Ye-Jin Han, their chief medical officer. "We have wounded coming in fast. The lower decks are taking heavy damage. We need to evacuate soon." Hyunwoo had been a coalition officer for 23 years. He had fought pirates, rebels, and hostile aliens, but he had never seen anything like this. The Kethmorans were not just winning. They were destroying everything. "Sir, incoming transmission," So-Min said. "It's from the enemy flagship." The main screen changed. A creature appeared that looked like a mix between an insect and a machine. Its face had too many eyes and metal tubes went into its skull. When it spoke, the translator made its voice sound cold and mechanical. "I am War Prime Vexthor of the Kethmoran Empire," the creature said. "Your pathetic coalition is finished. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick." Hyunwoo stood up. "This is Commander Park of the Coalition Defense Force. We will never surrender to murderers like you." The alien's mouth opened, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Murderers. We are farmers. You humans are simply crops to be harvested. Your bodies will feed our bioships. Your minds will power our computers. Nothing will be wasted." The transmission ended. Hyunwoo felt sick. He had heard rumors about what the Kethmorans did to captured humans, but hearing it directly was worse. "Sir, we're receiving reports from the outer colonies," So-Min said, reading her screen. "Kepler 442b has gone dark. So has New Sol and the mining stations in the Titan system." "Gone dark?" Dong-hyun asked. "No communications at all. Last message from New Sol said they saw bioships landing near the capital city." Another explosion rocked the station. This one was much closer. Through the windows, Hyunwoo could see that the middle defense ring was breaking apart. Coalition ships were retreating, but the Kethmoran bioships were faster. "How many ships do we have left?" Hyunwoo asked. Dong-hyun checked his displays. 47 ships that can still fight. Maybe 60 more that can run but can't shoot back. Against how many enemy ships? Hyunwoo didn't want to ask. The answer would be too depressing. "Sir, the evacuation alarm is sounding on decks 12 through 20. Ye-Jin's voice came over the comm again. "We have fires in the civilian sections. The artificial gravity is failing in some areas." Station Harmony had been the Coalition's strongest defense post. It had thick armor, powerful weapons, and room for 50,000 people. Now it was dying. "Commander Park," came another voice over the comm. It was Admiral Chen from the dreadnought Busan. "My ship is badly damaged. We're losing life support. Request permission to ram the enemy flagship." "Negative, Admiral," Hyunwoo replied quickly. "Get your people to the escape pods. Sir, with respect, there's nowhere to run." "They're everywhere." Hyunwoo looked at the tactical display again. Admiral Chen was right. The Kethmorans had surrounded them completely. Red dots filled every part of the screen. "All ships, this is Commander Park," Hyunwoo said into his communicator. "Begin emergency evacuation procedures. All civilians to escape pods immediately." "What about the military personnel?" asked Captain Jinny Cho from her scout ship. "We cover the evacuation. Hold the line as long as possible." So-Min was typing fast at her station. "Sir, I'm sending out emergency signals to any coalition forces outside this system. If anyone is listening, they'll know what happened here." The station shook violently. Sparks flew from several control panels. Through the windows, Hyunwoo could see escape pods launching from coalition ships. Some made it to safe distance. Others were shot down by enemy fighters. "Sir, the enemy is breaking through the inner defense line," Dong-hyun reported. "Bioships are heading straight for the station." All remaining ships fall back to evacuation point 7, Hyunwoo ordered. Cover the civilian transports, Commander, So-min said quietly. I'm picking up broadcasts from the enemy ships. They're celebrating. Celebrating? Yes, sir. They're sending victory messages to their home worlds. They think the war is over. Hyunwoo felt anger burning in his chest. The Kethmarans were celebrating while people died. They were happy about destroying everything the Coalition had built. Another massive explosion lit up space outside. The Coalition dreadnought Seoul was breaking in half. Thousands more people were dead. Sir, emergency message from the surface, Yejin said. The civilian shelters on the planet below are under attack. The bioships are landing troops. How long until our evacuation is complete? Hyunwoo asked. 20 more minutes for the civilian transports, Donghyun replied. But sir, I don't think we have 20 minutes. The main screen showed a new sight that made everyone on the bridge go quiet. A massive Kethmaran bioship, bigger than any they had seen before, was approaching the station. It looked like a giant spider made of metal and living tissue. Weapons covered its surface like eyes. That's their command ship, So-min whispered. Energy beams from the giant bioship hit Station Harmony's main hull. The armor held for a few seconds, then began to melt. Alarms sounded throughout the station. All personnel abandon station, Hyunwoo announced over the comm system. This is not a drill. All personnel to escape pods immediately. Sir, what about you? Yejin asked. I'll be right behind you. Go. The bridge crew ran for the emergency exit. So-min stopped at the door. Commander, we can't leave without you. Someone has to make sure the evacuation signal keeps broadcasting, Hyunwoo said. Go, that's an order. So-min nodded and ran. Hyunwoo was alone on the bridge now. Around him, the station was falling apart. He could hear metal breaking and air rushing out through holes in the hull. He sat down at the communication station and began typing. He wrote a message to any coalition forces that might still be out there. He told them about the attack, about how strong the enemy was, and about how many people had died. At the end of his message, he wrote, The Kethmorans think they have won. They are celebrating victory, but this is not over. Find Earth, find home. Make them pay for what they did here today. He sent the message and ran for his escape pod. Behind him, Station Harmony exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the entire star system. As his small escape pod flew away from the destruction, Hyunwoo could see Kethmaran bioships everywhere. They were not chasing the escape pods. They were too busy celebrating their victory. The war was over, they thought. Humanity was finished. They were wrong. 3 weeks after Station Harmony fell, Captain Jean A. Cho's scout ship drifted silently through an asteroid field. The ship's engines were off. All non-essential systems were powered down. They were hiding. Any movement? Ginny whispered to her navigator, even though sound could not travel through space. Nothing on sensors, he replied just as quietly. But that doesn't mean they're not out there. Ginny knew he was right. The Kethmorans had new hunting methods. Their bioships could detect human brain activity from incredible distances. The only safe places were areas with lots of metal ore that blocked their scans. Her communication officer turned around. Captain, I'm getting a weak signal from the Crab Nebula. It's Commander Park. Jin-A felt her heart jump. Put him through. The main screen flickered, then showed Hyunwoo's face. He looked older than he had 3 weeks ago. His uniform was torn, and he had a bandage over his left eye. Jin-A, good to see you alive, Hyunwoo said. You too, sir. What's your status? We have 17 ships left from the original fleet. Maybe 3,000 people total. We're hiding in the nebula, but we can't stay here forever. What about the other coalition forces? Hyunwoo's expression became darker. Gone, all of them. The Kethmorans have taken 90% of coalition space. They control all the major worlds, all the trade routes, all the military bases. Jin-A felt cold. What about Earth? No one knows where Earth is. The location was classified centuries ago when they chose isolation. We're on our own. The transmission was interrupted by static. When it cleared, someone else was on the screen. It was Tae-ho Yoon, a resistance fighter from Kepler 442b. Commander Park, Captain Cho, this is Tae-ho. I'm broadcasting from the underground on Kepler 442b. The situation here is worse than we thought. What do you mean? Hyunwoo asked. Tae-ho looked around nervously before answering. The Kethmorans aren't just taking people for food. They're studying us. They have these facilities where they keep humans alive and connected to machines. They're copying our brain patterns. Oh, for what purpose? To learn how we think, how we fight. They want to understand human tactics and strategy. Jin'ei felt sick. Are you sure? I saw it myself. We raided one of their facilities yesterday. Inside we found humans hooked up to biocomputers. They were alive but unconscious. The machines were reading their minds. The transmission flickered again. When it returned, a new person was on the screen. Mi-young Kang had been a coalition engineer before the war. Now she was working with the underground resistance. I've been analyzing the equipment we captured, Mi-young said. The Kethmorans are using human neural patterns to improve their tactical algorithms. They're becoming better at fighting us by studying how our minds work. Hyun-woo looked grim. How much better? A lot better. 3 days ago, we tried to attack a supply convoy. We used standard coalition tactics. The Kethmorans predicted every move we made. They destroyed our entire force before we could fire a shot. That's impossible, Jin'ei said. Those tactics worked for decades against other enemies. Not anymore. The Kethmorans know exactly how coalition officers think. They know our training, our strategies, everything. The implications were terrifying. If the enemy could predict human military tactics, then conventional warfare was useless. There's more, Taeho said. The Kethmorans are building something big on the surface of Kepler 442b. It looks like a massive communication array. We think they're preparing to broadcast their victory to the entire galaxy. Let them, Hyun-woo said bitterly. They've earned it. Sir, Jin'ei said, there has to be something we can do. With 17 ships against their entire empire? Against an enemy that can read our minds? What do you suggest? Before Jin'ei could answer, alarms started sounding on her ship. Her tactical officer shouted, Captain! Kethmoran patrol coming out of the asteroid field. They found us. The screen went dark as Jin'ei cut the transmission. All hands, battle stations. Engines to full power. Her scout ship was fast, but the Kethmoran bioship was faster. Energy beams flashed past her ship as they tried to escape the asteroid field. They're gaining on us, her navigator reported. Return fire. Jin'ei's weapons officer shook his head. No effect, Captain. Their bioarmor is adapting to our weapons. This was new. The Kethmorans were learning and changing during the fight. Their ships were becoming stronger as the battle continued. Take us through the dense asteroid cluster, Jin'ei ordered. Captain, that's too dangerous. The asteroids are too close together. Do it! The scout ship dove into a maze of spinning rocks. Jin'ei's pilot was skillful, but the Kethmoran ship followed them easily. Its biohull could change shape to squeeze through gaps that would destroy a normal ship. Captain, they're charging their main weapon, the tactical officer said. Jin'ei knew her ship could not survive a direct hit. She had to try something desperate. All power to the rear deflector. Create a feedback pulse that could destroy our own ship. Better than letting them capture us. The feedback pulse created a massive electrical discharge that lit up the asteroid field. The Kethmoran bioship jerked backward, temporarily stunned. Jin'ei's ship escaped, but barely. Hours later, they reached another hiding place. Jin'ei tried to re-establish contact with Hyun-woo's group, but there was only static. Either they were too far away, or something had happened to them. Her communication officer managed to pick up other signals. Fragments of messages from human survivors across the galaxy. All of them told the same story. The Kethmorans were hunting down the last resistance groups with incredible efficiency. Captain, her tactical officer said, I've been analyzing the enemy's movements. They're not just randomly searching. They know exactly where to look. It's like they can predict where we'll hide. Because they can, Jin'ei realized. If they've studied enough human minds, they know how we think. They know our psychology, our survival instincts, everything. The truth was becoming clear. The Kethmorans were not just winning through superior technology. They were winning because they understood humanity better than humans understood themselves. That night, Jin'ei received a coded message from Mi-young. It was short and terrible. Taeho's resistance cell was wiped out. The Kethmorans knew exactly when and where they would attack. They were waiting for them. It was a massacre. Jin'ei stared at the message for a long time. If the enemy could predict human tactics so well, then every resistance group was doomed. Every plan would fail. Every attack would become a trap. She tried to contact Hyun-woo again but got no response. Either his group was maintaining communication silence or they were gone. Looking out at the stars, Jin'ei wondered how many humans were left. Thousands, hundreds? The Kethmorans controlled most of the galaxy now. Their bioships patrolled every system. Their ground forces occupied every major world. Worst of all, they were getting smarter. Every time they captured humans, they learned more about how people thought and acted. Soon they would be able to predict every human move before it was made. Ginny made a decision. She would try to find Hyunwoo's group in the Crab Nebula. Maybe together they could figure out something. Anything. But deep in her heart, she knew the truth. The war was over. Humanity had lost. The Kethmorans were right to celebrate their victory. As her ship moved quietly through space, avoiding enemy patrols, Jin-A heard something that made her blood freeze. It was a Kethmoran broadcast transmitted across the entire galaxy. People of the galaxy, War Prime Vexthor's voice said, the human infestation has been eliminated. Their ships are destroyed. Their worlds are conquered. Their survivors hide in caves like frightened animals. Soon we will hunt down the last of them. The galaxy belongs to the Kethmoran Empire now. The broadcast ended with sounds that the translator couldn't interpret, but Jin-A knew what they were. They were sounds of celebration. The enemy was still celebrating their victory. And why shouldn't they? They had won completely. Jin-A turned off the communication system and ordered her crew to get some rest. Tomorrow they would continue running and hiding. It was all they could do now, but she made herself a promise. Even if humanity was doomed, even if they were the last ship in the galaxy, she would keep fighting until the very end. The Kethmorans might have won the war, but they had not won everything. Not yet. Dr. Soo-Jin Lim stared at the old Coalition records on her datapad. Around her, the hidden base in the Crab Nebula was quiet. Most of the survivors were sleeping, trying to forget their hopeless situation for a few hours. Soo-Jin could not sleep. She was a xenobiologist who had studied alien species for most of her life. Now she was looking for something different. A way to save humanity. Still reading those old files? Hyunwoo asked as he walked up to her workstation. There has to be something here, Soo-Jin said without looking up. Some piece of information we missed. Hyunwoo sat down next to her. His face was tired. The last few weeks had aged him years. Soo-Jin, we've been through every military database, every tactical manual, every scientific report. There's nothing that can help us fight the Kethmorans. Maybe we're looking in the wrong place. What do you mean? Soo-Jin finally looked up from her datapad. What if the answer isn't in the military files? What if it's in the political archives? She pulled up a new section of the database. These were old government documents from before the Coalition was formed. Most were boring reports about trade agreements and colonial administration. Here, Soo-Jin said, pointing at one file, the Homeworld Protocol. Hyunwoo leaned closer to read. I've never heard of that. It was created 230 years ago when Earth chose to isolate itself from galactic politics. The Coalition agreed to keep Earth's location secret. In exchange, Earth promised to help if humanity ever faced extinction. Help how? Soo-Jin scrolled through the document. It doesn't say exactly. The details are classified above our security level. But look at this line. In the event of species-threatening crisis, Coalition forces may request assistance by reaching Earth's coordinates via the Emergency Navigation Protocol. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. Even if this is real, how do we find Earth? The coordinates were classified centuries ago. The Emergency Navigation Protocol, Soo-Jin said. According to this, the coordinates were stored in 3 secure locations. One was on the Coalition capital world, which the Kethmorans destroyed. One was on the mobile command ship Daejeon, which was lost in the first battle. And the third, the dreadnought Sejong. Hyunwoo's expression changed. Sejong was crippled in the battle at Station Harmony. Last I heard, it was drifting dead in Kethmoran territory. Exactly. It's still out there. So Min Lee walked over to join them. She had been monitoring communications and looked worried. Commander, I hate to interrupt, but we have a problem. I'm picking up Kethmoran transmissions. They're organizing a major sweep of this entire region. How long do we have? Hyunwoo asked. Maybe 6 hours before they reach the nebula. Hyunwoo looked back at Soo-Jin. Even if Sejong still has the Earth coordinates, how do we get them? The ship is in enemy territory, probably swarming with Kethmoran salvage teams. We need a small, fast team, Soo-Jin said. Get in, download the navigation data, and get out before anyone notices. It's suicide. Commander, So-Min said. Maybe suicide is better than hiding here until they find us. Hyunwoo was quiet for a long time. Then he called for Woo Jin Seo, their best navigation specialist, and Hye-Rin Moon, who handled quantum communications. When they arrived, Hyunwoo explained the plan. We take one ship, probably Jin-A's scout vessel since it's the fastest. Small crew, minimal signatures. Get to Sejong, download whatever navigation data still exists, and get back here before the Kethmorans arrive. Sir, Woo Jin said, even if we get the coordinates, Earth might not be able to help. They isolated themselves for a reason. Do you have a better idea? Hyunwoo asked. No one answered. 2 hours later, Jin-A's scout ship left the nebula. The crew was small. Hyunwoo, So-min, Dong-hyun Kim, who had volunteered for the mission, Jin-ai, and Dr. Soo-jin Lim. The journey to Sejong's last known position took 8 hours. They had to move slowly and quietly to avoid Kethmoran patrols. Their ship's stealth systems were good but not perfect. There it is, Jin-ai said as they approached the coordinates. The dreadnought Sejong was a massive ship over 2 kilometers long. It had been one of the Coalition's most powerful warships. Now it was a floating wreck, split almost in half by enemy fire. Its lights were out and it spun slowly in space. Life signs? Hyunwoo asked. Dong-hyun checked his sensors. Nothing. But I'm detecting active salvage operations on the other side of the ship. Kethmorans. Yes, sir. 2 bioships are stripping the hull for materials. Jin-A moved their scout ship to the dark side of the wreck. I can get us to an airlock without being seen, but we won't have long. They docked with Sejong and put on spacesuits. The dreadnought's artificial gravity was offline, so they had to float through the corridors using magnetic boots. Inside, the ship was a tomb. Bodies of the crew floated in the darkness. Emergency lights flickered occasionally, casting strange shadows on the walls. Navigation computer should be on the bridge, Woo Jin said through his helmet radio. They made their way through the ruined corridors. It took 20 minutes to reach the bridge. When they arrived, they found that most of the control systems were destroyed. Can you access the navigation database? Hyunwoo asked. Woo Jin connected his portable computer to one of the few working terminals. The main computer is offline, but the backup storage might still have the data. While Woo Jin worked, the others kept watch. Through the bridge windows, they could see the lights of the Kethmoran salvage ships on the other side of the wreck. Got something, Woo Jin said. The emergency navigation protocol is here, but it's encrypted. Can you break the encryption? Give me 10 more minutes. They didn't have 10 minutes. Dong-hyun's sensors detected movement in the ship. Someone's coming. Multiple contacts moving through the lower decks. Kethmorans? Jin-A asked. I don't think so. The movement patterns look human. Survivors? They heard sounds echoing through the ship's corridors. Footsteps and voices getting closer. We need to go, Hyunwoo said. Almost got it, Woo Jin said, his fingers flying over his computer. Just a few more seconds. The sounds were very close now. Through the bridge entrance, they could see lights moving in the corridor outside. Now, Hyunwoo ordered. Woo Jin grabbed his computer. Got it, I have the coordinates. They ran from the bridge, but it was too late. A group of people in coalition uniforms appeared in the corridor ahead of them. But something was wrong with them. Their eyes were different. They moved too perfectly, too coordinated. They're not human anymore, Soo-jin whispered. The creatures that had once been human crew members of Sejong were now something else. The Kethmorans had changed them, turned them into biomechanical servants. This way, Jin-A said, leading them down a side corridor. Behind them, the transformed humans followed. They didn't run, but they moved with mechanical precision that was somehow more frightening than speed. The group reached their scout ship just as alarms began sounding throughout Sejong. The Kethmoran salvage teams had detected their presence. Go, 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 Hyunwoo shouted. Jin-A undocked from the dreadnought and fired the engines. Energy beams from the bioships lit up space around them, but the scout ship was small and fast. Are they following us? So-min asked. Dong-hyun checked his sensors. No, sir. I think they're too busy with their salvage operation to worry about one small ship. As they escaped, Hyunwoo looked back at Sejong. The dreadnought had been home to 3,000 coalition officers and crew. Now it was a haunted wreck full of creatures that had once been human. Did we get what we needed? Hyunwoo asked. Woo Jin nodded. I have the coordinates. Earth is in a system called Sol, in an isolated spiral arm about 200 light-years from here. 200 light-years, Jin-A said. That's at least 3 weeks of travel, going through Kethmoran territory the entire way. Can we make it? So-min asked. Hyunwoo looked around at his small crew. They were tired, scared, and running out of hope. But they were still alive and they still had a mission. "We'll make it," he said. "We have to." As their scout ship headed back toward the Crab Nebula to collect the other survivors, Dong Hyun was quiet. Finally he spoke. "Sir, I keep thinking about those things on Sejong. The crew members that the Kethmorans changed. What about them? If they can do that to humans, turn us into their servants, then maybe we're not just fighting for our lives. Maybe we're fighting for our souls." No one had an answer for that. They flew through space in silence, carrying the coordinates to humanity's last hope. Behind them, the wreck of Sejong continued its slow spin through the darkness, full of creatures that had once been human, now serving their alien masters. The coordinates to Earth were in their hands, but the price of getting them had shown them something terrible. The Kethmorans didn't just want to kill humanity, they wanted to make them something else entirely. The emergency meeting in the Crab Nebula was tense. Admiral Sung-Ho Jang, the highest-ranking coalition officer still alive, stood at the center of the group. His face was hard and angry. "This is madness," Admiral Jang said, looking at the coordinates Wu Jin had downloaded from Sejong. "We're talking about traveling 200 light-years through enemy territory to reach a world that abandoned the rest of humanity centuries ago." Hyun Woo kept his voice calm. "It's our only option, Admiral. Our only option is to find a safe place to hide and wait for the Kethmorans to stop looking for us." "They'll never stop looking," Dr. Soo-Jin Lim said. "We've seen what they do. They're not just conquering the galaxy. They're harvesting it. Every living thing becomes part of their empire." Admiral Jang turned to face the small group of survivors. There were fewer than 10,000 people left, scattered across 17 damaged ships. Most were not military personnel. They were engineers, doctors, civilians who had escaped the destruction of their worlds. "Even if Earth still exists," Admiral Jang said, "what makes you think they can help us? They've been isolated for 2 centuries. They probably don't even have a real military anymore." Hyunwoo held up the datapad with the Homeworld Protocol. "This document promises that Earth will help if humanity faces extinction. I'd say we qualify. That document is over 200 years old. The government that made that promise might not even exist anymore." The argument continued for an hour. In the end, it came down to a simple choice. Try to reach Earth or wait in hiding until the Kethmorans found them. The vote was close, but Hyunwoo's plan won. Preparations took 2 days. The fleet's chief engineer, Kyung-min Oh, worked with Mi Young-kang to modify the surviving ships for the long journey. They had to strip non-essential systems to make room for extra fuel and supplies. "The good news is that we're down to 3 ships that can still fly," Kyung-min reported. "The bad news is that none of them are in great shape." The 3 ships were Jinhae's scout vessel, a medium transport called Busan, and a damaged cruiser, Gwangju. Together they carried all the remaining human survivors from Coalition space. Young pilot Yoon-Soo Park volunteered to fly reconnaissance missions ahead of the main fleet. Her small fighter could scout for enemy patrols and find safe routes through Kethmoran territory. "I can stay 3 days ahead of the main fleet," Yoon-Soo explained. "If I find trouble, I'll warn you in time to change course." The journey began badly. On the 2nd day, they encountered a Kethmoran patrol fleet. The enemy bioships detected the human ships immediately, despite their stealth modifications. 5 enemy vessels closing on our position, Somin reported from the communication station. "Can we outrun them?" Hyunwoo asked. Jinny shook her head. "Not all of us. The transport ship is too slow. Then we fight." The battle was short and desperate. The 3 human ships used everything they had, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Just when it looked like they would all be destroyed, Mi Young's engineering modifications saved them. She had combined human technology with salvaged Kethmoran equipment, creating weapons that the enemy bioships couldn't adapt to quickly enough. "Their hull armor is confused," Mi Young explained over the communication system. "Our hybrid weapons are sending mixed signals. They don't know how to defend against them." The human fleet destroyed 3 enemy bioships and damaged the other 2 badly enough to escape. But the victory came at a cost. The cruiser Gwangju was severely damaged and had to jettison half its cargo to maintain speed. "We lost most of our spare parts and emergency supplies," Kyung-min reported grimly. Over the following weeks, they encountered more Kethmoran patrols. Each time they barely escaped. The ships were getting more damaged and supplies were running low. Worst of all, morale was falling. People were starting to give up hope. "Sir," So-min said during one of their daily briefings, "I'm picking up long-range communications from Earth's solar system." Hyunwoo felt his heart jump. What are they saying? It's directed at us specifically. Earth's planetary government has been monitoring our approach. And? So-min's expression was not encouraging. They're telling us to stay away. Earth cannot provide military assistance. They say they've maintained neutrality for centuries and have no intention of joining a losing war. The bridge went quiet. Admiral Jang, who had been skeptical from the beginning, spoke first. "I told you this was pointless." "Keep listening," Hyunwoo ordered So-min. "Maybe there's more." There was more, but it wasn't encouraging. Earth's communications made it clear that the planet had no interest in fighting the Kethmoran Empire. They had survived by staying out of galactic conflicts, and they weren't going to change now. "Sir," Yirin Moon, their quantum communication specialist, said, "I think I can establish a direct communication link with Earth's government." "Do it." The transmission took several minutes to establish. When it finally connected, they were speaking to someone in Earth's Department of Xenological Affairs. "This is Dr. Min-ho Chang, Director of Earth's Xenological Affairs," came a voice through the static. "We are aware of your situation, but we cannot provide the assistance you're seeking." "Dr. Chang, this is Commander Park of the Coalition Defense Force. We have 10,000 refugees who need sanctuary. Commander, Earth's population is carefully controlled. We cannot accept large numbers of immigrants, especially military personnel from active war zones." Hyunwoo felt anger rising in his chest. "The Kethmorans are destroying everything human in the galaxy. Your own species is being wiped out. Earth's population is safe. We have maintained peace for 2 centuries by avoiding entanglements with galactic politics. What about the Homeworld Protocol? Your ancestors promised to help if humanity faced extinction." There was a long pause before Dr. Chang answered. "That protocol was created by a different government under different circumstances. Current Earth policy prohibits military intervention in galactic conflicts." Admiral Jang looked at Hyunwoo with an expression that said, "I told you so." But Dr. Chang wasn't finished. "However, we can offer limited humanitarian assistance. One representative from your group may visit Luna Station for further discussion. It wasn't much, but it was something." The fleet continued toward Earth's solar system, now down to their last few days of supplies. Yoon-Soo's reconnaissance flights were getting more dangerous. The Kethmorans had increased their patrols in this region of space, almost as if they knew where the human fleet was heading. "Sir," Yoon-Soo reported during one of her flights, "I'm detecting a massive enemy force about 2 days behind us. It looks like they're following our trail." "How massive?" Admiral Jang asked. "At least 50 bioships, including several command vessels. Sir, I think they've been tracking us since we left the nebula." The realization was terrible. The Kethmorans had let them escape the nebula, let them make this long journey through space because they wanted to see where the humans would go. They were using the fleeing survivors to find Earth. "We've led them straight to humanity's homeworld," Hyunwoo said quietly. "What do we do?" So-min asked. Hyunwoo looked at the navigation display. Earth's solar system was less than a day away. Behind them, the largest Kethmoran fleet they had ever seen was closing the distance. "We continue to Earth," he decided. "Maybe their government will change their mind when they see what's coming." "And if they don't?" Hyunwoo didn't answer. He was thinking about the Homeworld Protocol, about the promise Earth's ancestors had made to help humanity in its darkest hour. This was definitely humanity's darkest hour. The question was whether Earth remembered how to keep old promises. The 3 battered ships limped toward Sol system, carrying the last free humans in the galaxy. Behind them came an enemy fleet that had been celebrating victory for months. Soon, both groups would reach Earth. Then they would see which was stronger: humanity's ancient home, or the empire that had conquered the rest of the galaxy. As they crossed into Sol system, past the orbits of the outer planets, Hyunwoo received a final transmission from Dr. Chang. "Commander Park, you may dock at Luna Station. However, only 1 person will be permitted to come aboard. What about the Kethmoran fleet following us? That is not Earth's concern." Hyunwoo looked around at his small bridge crew. So-min, Jin-ae, Admiral Jang, Dr. Sujin Lim. They had all sacrificed everything to get here. "I'll go," he said. "Sir," So-min said, "maybe I should—" "No, this was my plan. If it fails, the responsibility is mine." As their ships approached Luna Station, Hyunwoo wondered what he would find there. Earth had isolated itself for 2 centuries. What kind of people had they become? Could they still remember what it meant to be human? Soon he would find out. Luna Station was different from any human facility Hyunwoo had ever seen. The corridors were quiet, almost empty. The few people he passed moved with a strange calmness, as if they had all the time in the world. Dr. Min-ho Chang met him at the airlock. He was a tall, thin man with gray hair and intelligent eyes. He wore simple civilian clothes instead of a military uniform. "Commander Park," Dr. Chang said, extending his hand. "Welcome to Luna Station. Dr. Chang, thank you for seeing me. I'm afraid I have limited authority to help you. Earth's government has been very clear about our neutrality policy." They walked through corridors lined with windows showing views of Earth below. The planet looked peaceful and green with no signs of the war that was consuming the rest of the galaxy. "How many people live on Earth now?" Hyunwoo asked. "About 3 billion. We've maintained a stable population for 2 centuries. No wars, no conflicts, no involvement in galactic politics." "That must be nice," Hyunwoo said, trying not to sound bitter. Dr. Chang stopped walking and looked at him. "Commander, I know what you're thinking. You believe we abandoned the rest of humanity to save ourselves, didn't you?" "No. We prepared ourselves to save everyone." Before Hyunwoo could ask what that meant, they arrived at a large conference room. Inside, several other people were waiting. One was a woman in a military uniform that Hyunwoo didn't recognize. "Commander Park, this is Commander In-suk Ryu of the Earth Defense Force," Dr. Chang said. Hyunwoo was surprised. "Earth has a military?" "A small one," Commander Ryu said. "But we've been very busy for the past 200 years. Dr. Chang gestured for Hyunwoo to sit down. On the table was a holographic display showing the solar system. Red dots were approaching from the outer edge. "Your Kethmaran friends will arrive in about 6 hours, Dr. Chang said calmly. "They're not my friends, and there are over 50 ships in that fleet. They'll destroy everything in this system." "Will they?" Commander Ryu asked. She seemed genuinely curious, not worried. "You don't understand," Hyunwoo said. "The Kethmarans have conquered 90% of the galaxy. Their bioships adapt to any weapons we use against them. They can predict human tactics perfectly. They're unstoppable." "Unstoppable," Dr. Chang repeated. "That's an interesting word." He pressed a button on the table. The holographic display changed, showing technical diagrams that Hyunwoo didn't understand. "Commander, what do you know about human consciousness? What does that have to do with anything?" "Everything. You see, when Earth chose isolation 2 centuries ago, it wasn't because we were afraid of galactic politics. It was because we had work to do. Very important work." Dr. Chang stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. "The Kethmarans are very good at adapting to technology," he continued. "They can copy human weapons, predict human tactics, even turn human minds into biological computers. But there's one thing they cannot copy or predict." "What's that?" "Pure human intuition, creativity, the ability to make leaps of logic that don't follow any pattern." Commander Ryu joined the conversation. "Dr. Chang, should we show him Project Renaissance?" "I think it's time." They led Hyunwoo deeper into Luna Station, to levels he hadn't known existed. The corridors here were different, filled with strange equipment and displays showing complex patterns of light. "What is this place?" Hyunwoo asked. "This is where we've been preparing for this day," Dr. Chang said. "For 2 centuries, Earth's best minds have been working on a single project: how to weaponize human consciousness itself." They entered a massive chamber filled with thousands of people sitting in chairs, their eyes closed, wearing strange helmets connected to quantum computers. "These volunteers are linked together in a single network," Commander Ryu explained. "Their minds work as one, but each person maintains their individual creativity and intuition." "I don't understand." "The Kethmarans can predict human behavior because they study individual human minds," Dr. Chang said. "But they cannot predict what thousands of human minds can do when they work together, while remaining completely unpredictable." Hyunwoo looked around the chamber. "These people are controlling Earth's defenses?" "Not controlling, becoming." "When the Kethmaran fleet arrives, every ship in Earth's defense force will be operated by human consciousness, linked directly to the weapons and engines. The ships won't just be piloted by humans. They will be humans." An alarm sounded throughout the station. Commander Ryu checked a display on her wrist. "The enemy fleet has entered the outer system," she announced. How many ships does Earth have? Hyunwoo asked. About 300, Commander Ryu said. 300 against 50 Kethmoran bioships. That might be enough. Commander, Dr. Chang said with a slight smile. You still don't understand. We don't need superior numbers. We have something much better. They returned to the conference room where the holographic display now showed both fleets. The Kethmoran bioships were approaching in perfect formation, confident and unstoppable. Earth ships were moving out to meet them. Watch carefully, Commander Ryu said. The two fleets met near Jupiter. Immediately, Hyunwoo could see that something was different about the way Earth ships moved. They didn't follow standard tactical patterns. Instead, they moved like they were dancing. Each ship in perfect harmony with the others but completely unpredictable. The Kethmoran bioships fired their energy weapons, but the Earth ships were never where the aliens expected them to be. It was as if the human pilots could see the future. How are they doing that? Hyunwoo asked. They're not predicting the future, Dr. Chang explained. They're thinking faster than conscious thought. Pure intuition, backed by quantum processing power. One by one, the Kethmoran bioships were destroyed, not by superior firepower but by perfect tactical positioning. Every shot the Earth ships fired hit exactly where it would do the most damage. Every movement put them in the perfect place to avoid enemy fire. The Kethmorans are trying to adapt, Commander Ryu said, watching the display. But they can't. There's no pattern to adapt to. War Prime Vexthor's flagship, the massive bioship that had led the destruction of Coalition space, tried to retreat. Earth ships surrounded it, moving in patterns that should have been impossible to coordinate. This is impossible, came Vexthor's voice over the communication system. You cannot fight like this. It defies all logic. Commander Ryu activated the response system. War Prime Vexthor, this is Commander Ryu of Earth Defense. You made one mistake in your conquest of the galaxy. What mistake? You assumed that logic was the highest form of intelligence. You forgot that humans don't just think. We feel, we create, we imagine, and sometimes we do things that make no sense at all just because we can. The last Kethmoran bioship was destroyed 15 minutes after the battle began. The entire enemy fleet, the force that had conquered most of the galaxy, was gone. Hyunwoo stared at the display in shock. How is this possible? 200 years of preparation, Dr. Chang said. Earth didn't abandon humanity. We became the ultimate expression of what humanity could be. Commander Ryu was already giving orders to her fleet. All ships begin liberation operations. Target every world occupied by Kethmoran forces. You're going to liberate the entire galaxy? Hyunwoo asked. Of course, that was always the plan. Over the following hours, Hyunwoo watched as Earth's ships spread out across the galaxy. At every world they reached, the same thing happened. The Kethmoran forces were completely outmatched by human ships that fought like no one had ever seen before. The bioships that had seemed invincible were helpless against tactics that couldn't be predicted or countered because they weren't really tactics at all. They were pure human creativity, expressed through advanced technology. We'll need your help, Commander Ryu told Hyunwoo. You and the other survivors know the galaxy better than we do. You can guide our ships to the worlds that need liberation most. What about the people the Kethmorans captured? The ones they turned into biological computers? Dr. Chang looked sad for the first time. We'll do everything we can for them. Earth's medical technology has advanced considerably in 2 centuries. So Min's voice came over the communication system from the fleet still waiting outside Luna Station. Commander Park, are you seeing this? Earth ships are appearing all over the galaxy. They're winning everywhere. Hyunwoo activated his communicator. So Min, prepare the fleet for escort duty. We're going home. All of us. Home, sir? Anywhere humans want to live. Earth is going to make sure we can live there safely. As he watched the liberation of the galaxy begin, Hyunwoo thought about the Kethmoran's mistake. They had assumed that conquering humanity would be like conquering any other species. They had studied human tactics, human psychology, human biology, but they had never understood the most important thing about humans. When pushed to the edge of extinction, humans didn't just fight back. They became something new, something better, something that couldn't be predicted or stopped. The enemy had been celebrating victory for months. They thought the war was over. They were right. The war was over, but they had been wrong about who won. Humanity had been scattered, hunted, and nearly destroyed. But they had reached Earth. and Earth had been waiting for them with the greatest weapon in the galaxy, the human spirit.